and welcome to your first reading for the month of June. This reading is going to cover June 1st through 7th, 2020. And I want to take a moment and we can't ignore what's going on in the world right now, especially in our country here in America. There's a lot of divide. People are heartbroken. People are outraged over the death of George Floyd, who was murdered, literally, by the Minneapolis police. So, as everybody knows, America is a relatively young country, and we have a number of conflicting belief systems, many of them old, outdated, unfair, that still exist and persist in our country. And everybody's been home, everybody's been quarantined, work schedules have been disrupted, people's ability to bring in physical, financial resources for their families, support their families, are changing and has been restricted. People are pent up, and this is sort of the last straw, and rightfully so. But I want to take a second and I've been seeing a lot of divide, kind of two schools of thought. One school of thought where people are oblivious to, the racism that people of color encounter in our country every single day. And they're more shocked by the looting and the rioting. Now, of course, the looting and the rioting is never the way. And so this morning I sat down and meditated and just asked Spirit for some answers, some guidance, some comfort with what's going on. Cities are burning across our country right now. And the message that I got, and please everybody understand that in no way am I meaning to take away from the discussion that's happening or from the outrage that people feel. The first emotional reaction is always going to be fear and hate and outrage, and that's what's happening. But we're trying to fight an ideology, the motivations, the belief systems, right, that need to be replaced, that are old, outdated, cruel, inhumane. And so we're trying to fight the fire element and ideology with physical action, the earth element. And they're two different things. What do you fight fire with? Water, right? With emotion. So rather than coming from a place of rage, which is justified and which is part of the emotional process, we need to come at it from a place of compassion. Am I condoning, am I excusing people that do horrible things? Of course not. But rage is a facade, a mask for pain, for despair. And the only way that we're going to knock down these old belief systems and be able to replace them with new, more equal, more fair, more modern belief systems and ideologies here in this country and in your personal life is to look at it with compassion, right? When we have traumas from our childhood, when things have happened to us that were out of our control, and we feel rage and anger, that rage and anger, eventually you can't sustain that level of energy. It takes a lot of fire to sustain. Anger and outrage have a place. They do. But you can't sustain that forever. So what happens is it turns into fear, where we start to avoid those things that trigger that feeling, that emotion inside of us. And through that fear, through that avoiding, things get buried underneath the rug. And then an incident will happen and it will flare up. So just like in healing, therapy, any modality that you want to pick, in any type of healing, you have to go back to that core hurt, that core belief. You have to understand it, and you have to somehow, it's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to each person individually to find forgiveness and compassion. Because only with forgiveness and compassion can that emotional fire that's burning inside be quelled. Excuse me. And then using our logic and our will, we get to decide what we want to put in its place, right? So that's the fundamental healing process. Let me sum up a really quick example. Let's say, when I was a child, my parents fought all the time. It was a very weird situation. They loved each other very much, but they fought all the time. Like fighting, screaming, yelling, and that was kind of just normal they had both been exposed to that in their childhood, and therefore they didn't know better. Now, of course, that causes a lot of, struggle and a lot of pain growing up. They were never, outright abusive to me, and they were, I'm very grateful, and I had two parents that loved me. But the realization that let me let go of the anger of why did this have to happen to me, was understanding that they did the best they could. They did the best that they knew how. And we all only ever do the best that we know how to do, what we think is the right action at the time. So with all that said, it's going to take some time. The outrage and the anger needs to surface to get people's attention, right? But then we need to listen. We need to listen to the people who deal with this every day, that are afraid to go and drive their car, afraid to be pulled over by a policeman, afraid to, afraid to go out in public, afraid to walk after dark. These things should not happen in society, and yet they do. So it's up to us, our generation, and the generation below us are the ones that have to make the change. And the change is not going to happen until we understand where each other is coming from. For the folks that perpetuate the racism, this is culturally, generationally ingrained in them. Maybe they're in the deep south, maybe you're in the deep south, and these beliefs are cultural and hidden in plain sight. You're not flat outright, spewing hate, but the vibration at the core of the tradition or the saying or the phrase or the ideology is hateful. And that's where we all need to, on an individual level, check in with ourselves. And if it doesn't feel like love, if it doesn't feel like the highest good, then stop and ask yourself before you perpetuate it, right? So please don't confuse what I'm saying as condoning anything. But there is a process that we have to go through as a collective, as a people, and it starts with all of us being calm and quiet enough to understand where the other is coming from, so that we don't divide further. Fighting fire with fire only creates more destruction. So with all that said, I want to take a moment and just say a prayer for everybody. If you're out there protesting, I hope peacefully. I hope you're not participating in any of the rioting or looting or awful things that are going on. I support you. Please be safe. Please wear your mask. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of the people that you're with. And for everybody who's hurting right now, who has pain in their heart, sorrow in their heart, who's afraid, who's angry, who's outraged, I want to take a second and bring the focus back to the heart center. Dear Spirit, dear God, universe, whatever you want to call it, higher principle that I embody, that you embody, please allow us to think, speak, and see clearly, and to feel your divine love, and take action and move forward with you and the highest good in mind. Please provide comfort and strength to our nation and to the world right now going through this pandemic. And please surround those that don't have a connection to you and protect them and shine your divine grace upon them, because they don't know better. Amen. So let's get into it. We're going to take a look at the energies of June 1st through the 7th. If you're brand new here, this is a place where we can come together on a weekly basis to take a look at what energies are affecting us at this time and gain clarity from source, from spirit, on how we can best move forward. How can we best navigate the energies that are influencing us this week? And there's no greater time than now to focus in and establish that connection with the divine. All it takes is, 1-2 minutes of silence. Really try to just empty your brain, and the peace and the love that comes in, that's the divine. So if we let that lead, if we set the intention to allow, love and to be an instrument of the divine, as we are all made uniquely and with a purpose. If you just set the intent every morning when you wake up to live that purpose, day by day by day, you will get closer and closer and closer to that. And it's my hope that, the reason I do these readings is to help you, to help the collective tap into that divine guidance. So, Spirit, what do we need to know for the week of June 1st through 7th? What do we most need to know? I'm going to do the reading with the Wild Unknown Tarot. I love this tarot. I picked it specifically today because I feel like the images and messages and the illustrations really align with our generation. I feel like it's a very modern, current deck, and it's very in tune with the current energies of the world. She also goes by the original order of the major arcana. So strength is number 11, justice is number 8. And that's important because at somewhere along the line it was changed when it went into the Rider-Waite deck. But originally the order went, number 8 was justice, the hermit, the wheel of fortune, and then strength. So justice represents the inner judge, the conscience. So finding that light and that conscience, and whether you listen to it or not, being aware of it, right? And from that moment on, every decision that you make is weighed by the conscience. That conscience is both the divine, but it's your own meter, right, of the highest good. So that realization to the hermit. So after you realize the justice, right, the inner judge, the conscience, then you go inward, the hermit, the one who goes off away from society by himself to meditate and to learn about his inner world, away from outside distractions, right? And why is that the next step? Because we are not perfect. We are flawed humans. And once you recognize the conscience and you recognize it within yourself, then it's time to do that soul searching, right? That digging. Where did I go wrong? What could I have done? And then the wheel of fortune. So once he comes to that understanding of his inner world, he's ready and decides to step back on that wheel of life that's continually moving, right? Only this time he's not like the fool where he's brand new, fresh in the world, and has no wisdom and experience, he takes all the wisdom of his inner world and now he marries the two. And that brings us to justice, the decision to live justly, to live by that conscience. And of course we fail, of course we fall short, but the intent is what's important. So at any rate, if the major arcanas are the archetypes that we go through in life, that order is very significant. So, and justice is a card that very much exemplifies what's going on this week. At the end, I will pull a Law of Attraction, Ask and It Is Given oracle card by Jerry and Esther Hicks, and then a spirit animal, so an animal totem for this week. Okay. Internal, external, please, Spirit. Okay. No flyers, everything very deliberate. Look at this, you guys. I just put the deck down. And what was I just saying about justice? The order of justice and everything. Look at that. The decision to live by the sword of truth. Swords are the air element, so thoughts, communication, words. The decision, see how it's right in between on the line of black and white, right? You straddle the line. You have both, and both are necessary. But you choose to live by truth and what is of the highest good. Wow. All right. So I'm going to zoom you guys in here. So up above, we got the Empress in reverse. The Empress is a major arcana. We have the moon here, feminine intuition, feminine energy. And the Empress is all about the raw divine feminine. The raw divine feminine. The Empress is Mother Nature. The Empress is the invisible thing that makes all things bloom. And it's in the reverse up above on your consciousness. So I think you're not feeling very in tune with nature. You're feeling overpowered by the masculine, need to do action. And there's an imbalance in the yin and the yang going on here on your conscious mind. You're aware of the need for the mother influence. And also the 3 is a number of, first fruits. The Empress is about, pregnancy, fertility, birthing new life, nurturing new life. So in the reverse, lacking that ability to nurture what's in your life. In the recent past, we have the 6 of Cups in the reverse. The 6 of Cups is typically about celebration, and here we have a tree with deep roots, right? But it's in the reverse. See how all the color is in the roots? And cups are emotion. They are the water element. 6 is also about communion. It generally has to do with others. And I'm almost getting, emotions, but I'm also getting like the base, the ideology that nurtures you, right? That takes up the nutrients. The thing that nourishes you being flipped upside down. And again, we have this tree symbolism here. not being in touch with your feminine intuition and emotions spilling out. So almost like, you're not, almost like you're not interested in nurturing what's going on with you right now. Can I pull a clarity on this Six of Cups, please, Spirit? There it is, Three of Cups, upright. Three of Cups is a card of coming together, sharing emotions, meeting new people, making new connections, coming together to celebrate. And in the reverse, in your recent past, maybe it's just the emotions you're feeling because of the lack of ability to get together and congregate, the way that you normally do. Maybe it is a little bit of isolation going on, and you see, what nourished you, these roots that live in the earth, that are very physical, and that, bring the nutrients to you, is flipped upside down. And it's almost like a reflection. Here you are upside down, right? These roots, these colorful roots. It almost looks like a tree in winter, right? It's barren, it has no leaves. And then this is almost the reflection of it. And it looks whole, right? So it's almost like catharsis in the recent past. Maybe this quiet time has allowed you to, release some emotions, and it is allowing the reflection you see in the mirror, right? You see in the water, those emotions. You're more whole, you're more in bloom, you're more full because those emotions have been released. Presently, we have the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords is about being in a predicament. It's about being in a place where you're pinned, you're stuck, you can't move. You feel like you can't speak. Either that or you're speaking, but you're not being heard. Almost like being backed into a corner. And here you are, in your most fragile state, in the cocoon, haven't yet come out. Monarchs or butterflies, they go through a full transformation. So they start as a little, land, earth element creature. Then they go into this cocoon and they literally, for lack of a better analogy, turn to soup and emerge a completely brand new, iterated creature, right? But during that time of incubation, during this time of incubation, where you've got a lot of emotions going on, you are feeling disconnected from the feminine principle, the ability to nurture and grow, because things seem so chaotic right now. It's like, how can you nurture in a desert, right? And right at the time where you're at your most valuable, you've got all of these swords, all of these ideas or these words sort of backing you up against a corner. And I'm almost getting, see how it's like fully formed? And the chrysalises are usually green. And for some reason, she chose to put the actual monarch colors on the cocoon. So this, you're just about to come out, but you're fully formed. And yet you can't spread your wings, because if you do, you're going to get pierced, right? You can't express yourself. You're feeling like you can't express yourself. And then in the near future, remember it's for you, so please apply the messages how they apply in your life. But this is a reading for the collective, for the energies that are influencing all of us this week. And what do you know? Hierophant in reverse. Hierophant is institutions. Typically it would be like the Pope, but it's any institution, any tradition that has, physical expression. So universities would be definitely included in this. School systems, the building that the school is, housed in, religious institutions, money, even, all of that. And in the reverse, it's breaking down, right? So breaking down old institutions that keep people pinned and unable to nourish themselves, unable to express themselves, unable to gather with others. I do see a lot of change coming up, you guys. I think this summer we're going to see a lot of things changing. Can I have a clarity on this there it is, swords, temperance in reverse? So you're impatient. You're feeling very impatient. You're fully formed, ready to spread your wings. You have something to say, something to communicate, but you're unable to do it because other people are pinning you in. And you're feeling it's making you feel very sort of upside down and disconnected from your own power to create and to give birth to something new, and impatient, right? Temperance is all about patience and divine timing. So in the reverse, you're feeling very impatient. Can I have a clarity for this Hierophant as well? What do we need to know? We understand that it is institutions flipped upside down, but what do we need to know about it? There it is. Queen of Swords. Again, you're not able to express what's inside of you. I want to focus back in on the Hierophant here. The beliefs that we have, the institutions that we've built up around those core beliefs in the reverse. You see the lightning here? It's reminiscent of the Tower card. And lightning is divine fire, right? And lightning burns. It burns up whatever it touches, whatever it strikes. So the Hierophant here in the future, we're feeling restricted. We're feeling like a new us is ready to surface, but we can't because we're surrounded by all of these ideas and all of these harsh words that are going to pierce us if we try to stretch out our wings, right? Not only that, but we're feeling disconnected from the divine feminine, from our ability to nurture. There's no nurturing going on this week because our belief systems, those institutions that served us in the past, are being flipped upside down. And the Six of Cups as your recent past, traditionally it would represent, sadness, but in this case, what used to nourish you, the beliefs, the ideals, the values that you used to believe in are now upside down. And through through turning those cups upside down and letting that water, that emotion pour out, the reflection that comes after that is whole, is better. It is a new iteration, a new version. So on a personal level, you guys, we are reevaluating beliefs and we are overhauling belief structures. And the crow here, or the raven, is significant. You see how he holds a key? So a raven is a very intelligent animal, but a flock of crows is called a murder, right? So they're dark, they're black also, representing the subconscious, representing that which is unseen. And we see he holds a key. So if the Hierophant represents institutions and the crow represents the subconscious, and see how the lightning is almost touching the key? This is the divine inspiration that comes from within, prompted by these institutions. And it's in the reverse with the Queen of Swords as its clarity. Queen of Swords is a very self-righteous queen. She's she's cunning almost. In the reverse, she can take on some of the more negative qualities. It always reminds me of the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland, right? Very self-absorbed, very all about herself, and willing to yield or wield, her sword, her sharp words, her harsh tongue, right, to maintain control. And she's she's logical, but she's also very ruled by her emotions. So the challenge is to go ahead and spread those wings anyways, because once you do, the wind will lift you up and carry you away from that tangle of old beliefs, that tangled mess of thorns, of, beliefs that don't serve your highest good. On a collective level, this is representing the momentum we're seeing right now in the US. We're seeing a almost fully formed ideology, belief system, revolution, really. And it's trying to spread its wings. It's trying to take flight, but it's being held back. It's being pinned by societal ideas, leading to the overhaul of societal institutions. And that's exactly what's happening. And it's a harsh truth. Queen of Swords. So below on your subconscious, we have the Daughter of Pentacles. This is something new. We see the fawn here. This is creating something real and tangible in your life. So on your mind right now is the destruction, really, and the dissolution of things. Things don't look very green. They don't look very prosperous right now. But on the subconscious is that new beginning, that new start. Pages are also messengers. They are apprentices. And they represent the physical material realm. So a new venture, a new thing, a new physical reality is on your subconscious starting to bubble up. So internal influence and external influence, we have the Mother of Swords, which is the Queen of Swords in the traditional deck. She is keen. She is sharp. She can see very clearly. And the owl in this image is very interesting because owls can see at night. They're nocturnal. And so they see into that darkness. They actually use the darkness for their benefit. They don't have to compete with the eagles and the hawks and the other birds of prey because the night is their domain. The darkness is their realm, and they're very comfortable in it. And they use their keen, sharp hearing and sight, powers of communication, to target their prey and survive. And they're also, for the most part, silent. And in the reverse, again, it can bring out the expression of some of those more negative qualities. And so internally, you're clear on the inside of what you want, but you're unable to express it outwardly, if that makes sense. And externally, we have the Magician, the number 1 card, a brand new start. Realizing you have everything you need, you have the raw materials, what are you going to make of it externally? So I think that spells out what's happening in the world on a collective level, and justice sitting here above. On a personal level, you're going through your own iteration, your own evolution here, and it does involve, in the very near future, overhauling these beliefs, these institutions that you used to take part in. I'm going to pull 3 more cards to show the current energy Ten of Pentacles, King of Swords, Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups, King of Swords, looking towards the past. Ten of Pentacles, wealth, abundance, stability. King of Swords, logical action. Taking care of your domain, your realm, your responsibility to those in your life. Using your logic to rule fairly and justly. And the Queen of Cups. This is balance. And then we had the Ace of Cups, overflowing of emotion. See the dove here? Hope, peace, love. But before all of that has to come the storm, right? The letting go of these old institutions. So what I want to say here, obviously, institutions burning, right? Or institutions being flipped upside down. We're seeing a very masculine, forward-moving, outraged energy in the world right now. And it's causing the destruction or dissolution of these institutions, structures in society that stifle, that pin, that keep people in a state of protecting themselves. On a collective level, we see that. We see that we're not in a fertile, it's not about fertility right now. The sentiment, the energy that's going on this week is about destruction, really. Tearing down and finding justice. No matter what it takes to get there, right? That's the sentiment. And those old institutions being overhauled. On the subconscious, we are thinking about what it will look like when all this is over, when the dust settles. But we don't yet have a clear idea. This baby fawn is brand new to the world, and we don't yet know how to bring it out into the physical material. And on a personal level, we're all being confronted with realities right now that are causing us to have to let go of certain belief systems. Maybe you were raised in, the deep south, or, I'm just using that, or far north. There's a lot of that up north as well. And you're realizing that some of your beliefs and some of the traditions that you upheld, either in your family or personally, are actually don't serve your own highest good or the highest good of anybody. And they actually are unfair, and they actually do cause pain and hurt. So rather than using your sword to defend yourself or for good, you're using it to hurt others, even unwittingly. But you're realizing that that's happening. That's just an example. So it's going to be different for all of us. But we've gone through sadness and pain in the recent past, and it's in the reverse. So yeah, we've gone through the pain and we've come out the other side. And we're fully formed, but we're still not, our environment is not conducive. And the challenge here is to spread your wings anyways. And this justice. Can I have a guidance card, please? Have a challenge, challenge and solution, please. So the important thing, you guys, this week on a personal level is to go inside, realize that you've got some ideas, some new things percolating, bubbling underneath there. And everything that's happening in the world is sort of taking your attention and your focus towards it. And you're looking at, how are things going to change? How are these traditions and structures, societal structures and influences in my life, how are they going to change, and how is it going to be just and fair, right? Challenge and solution, please. Challenge is the Father of Pentacles. Solution is the Daughter of Swords. Wow. So this would be the Page of Swords. Father of Pentacles. All right, on a collective level, the masculine, paternal energy, the material, physical, all about the money sort of mentality, and the father would be the king. So again, this is the way, society is run, very paternal, very masculine, puts much value on the material, but not much value on the emotional or spiritual. This is the challenge. And how are we going to overcome it? With the Daughter of Swords, again, the owl. By being able to look into the darkness, right? The owl lives in the night. Being able to look into that, the collective unconscious or subconscious, if you will, where all of these beliefs, these, the racism and hate and separation, that's where all of them live, in the subconscious, collectively. And so how do we overcome a society that is all about money and profit and material over the human spirit and over the intangible? By giving voice to what is in the subconscious. Telling your story on a collective level. The more of us that tell our story, the more that it's out there and the more momentum it can gain. So really, and then on a personal level, it's about looking at your own life and where do you fall into those societal systems that have to change for the greater good of everybody, right? Regardless of the racism that's happening in the country, we are a very materially driven world and country. And we know that has to change. We're such a disposable society. We create throwaway items, one-time use items, and we throw them in our ocean, our beautiful, life-giving, nourishing ocean, and, pollute it. And that's just the mentality. Physical, comfort now over longevity and the greater good long term. And we're all being asked on an individual level to examine that and go back to the inner justice, and say, is this right? And even retaliation, is it aligned with your highest good? If you stopped for a second to ask yourself, is this of my highest good? Of course, you wouldn't move forward with that action, and people have been driven to this point by being pinned, right, in place. But on a personal level, it's asking you to take your attention from the outside. Okay, we've seen it. We've understood it. Now bring it inside and assimilate it and put it under the light of the divine, under the light of the conscience, and let the scales weigh out. Is it right? Is it true? Is it just? Or is it not? On a collective and on a personal level, that's what this week is about. It's about weighing the dichotomy of, physical material gain over intuition. See the stars and the beauty that lays, within if we're quiet enough to listen. And then expressing that, sharing that. Swords are about communication, speaking, sharing ideas, having deep conversations, civil debate, all of that. Because that's how we're going to get some of these institutions to change. The emotional outpouring is understandable. Everybody's going to have emotions, especially because there's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes that has contributed to where we are now. And people are tired of being pinned down, and they're going to spread their wings. So on a personal level, it's the same thing. There is abundance. There is peace, hope, and renewal available for you. There is balance. These two together, Queen of Cups and King of Swords, air and water, this is a power couple. You could have a Gemini Libra or Sag in your life, you could have a Sag in your life. Justice is the card of Sagittarius as well. So an air sign male or a water sign, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, female. But these two together, logic, ability to express yourself, looking out for your kingdom and those around you logically, and doing it with heart, doing it with intent, understanding the ability to be empathic, the ability to be an empath and understand where someone else is coming from, and then using your logic to decide what course of action is going to be the best and most beneficial for all. That's a king's duty first and foremost, right? And the queen's duty is to nurture. So, using my heart and my intuition to understand where someone else is coming from. How can I take that information and what action do I need to take? How do I communicate to my people, to my life, to those in my sphere of influence that will be most beneficial for all? Okay? I'm going to go ahead and pull a Ask and It Is Given card. This deck is about abundance. It's about personal abundance and understanding what we need to do. How do we train and focus our thoughts in order to invite in the highest abundance possible, the greatest good possible, and have it reflected in our material world. So first of all, I had this one pop out, so I will read that. I have the ability to direct my own thoughts. I do not have to be subject to the outside events of the world pulling my attention and focus this way and that, and causing me to delay spreading my wings and being lifted up. Because my attention is this way and that way, and it's causing me to focus on things that make me sad, make me upset, make me angry, make me feel all kinds of emotions. And I'm looking everywhere but where I want to go. So it's important to know this week that you always have the ability to direct your own thoughts, no matter what's happening in the world. You have the option of observing things as they are, or imagining them as you want them to be. Whichever option you choose, your thoughts produce a vibration within you that equals your point of attraction, and then circumstances and events line up to match the vibrations that you have offered. So, getting back to compassion, if we focused on compassion and understanding that no matter how fucked up it is, everybody is doing the best that they know how to do. And if they're not, then they know it, because the inner conscience is screaming at them and they're choosing the dark path over the light path. That's not what we want to do. That's not what we're aiming for. So understand that you have the choice and the ability to imagine things the way you want them to be. And every time you do that, you visualize them, you give energy to them. And more things like them will come into your life and your experience. And the more that you share them, vocally express them, the more you shine that vibration onto others. So instead of focusing on the destruction, let's focus on having compassion for everybody who's hurting right now, and praying for them, and thanking Spirit for being with us at this time, and empowering us to create the life we want to live. We have a very specific opportunity to create something new in the place of these old beliefs. So let's do it in the way that is most beneficial for all. And how do we accomplish that? By focusing on our own highest good, by imagining what you want your life to look like, by setting your intention, I'm creating that vibration in you. And I will reach for the best feeling thought I have access to. Always be reaching for the feeling of relief that comes when you release a more resistant thought and replace it with a more allowing, better feeling thought. The stream of well-being is always flowing through you, and the more that you allow it, the better you feel. The more that you resist it, the worse you feel. So this goes hand in hand with I have the ability to direct my own thoughts. The stream of abundance is always within you. It lives inside of you. You have the choice at any moment whether to tap into it or not. Okay, I'm also going to pull the Wild Unknown Spirit Animal Totem for the week. The animal messengers are amazing teachers. What do we most need to know for this week moving forward? This is it. We got mouse. I want to read you guys an excerpt here of mouse. Mouse is obviously an earth element. Okay. Detail-oriented. The mouse has an innate desire to tend to the details. It often spends its days fixing, preparing, organizing, and scrutinizing. Unfortunately, a mouse personality doesn't notice when they've gone too far. Soon they begin to have a limited and fearful vision of life and try to control every detail. This can be quite a painful experience for both the mouse and those around them. When mouse energy is at play, step back for a moment. It may be time to find a more purposeful project to delve into, one that's worthy of your exacting eye. Mouse is organized. Mouse is quick. Mouse is close to the earth. But mouse also falls prey if it gets distracted, right? So this goes back to you've done the metamorphosis. You know what you want. Focus on it moving forward. Don't allow what's going on in the outside world, stand up, speak up, but don't allow what's going on to distract you from your highest good so that you fall victim to all of the things that are going to be crumbling in the near future. We want to focus on what we want to build moving forward rather than what needs to fall to the wayside. Okay? I actually want to pull one more. Octopus. Very clever, but 8 arms. Could go in any direction. Can fit itself into almost any size container, right? Can live up at the top near the surface and can dive to the deepest depths of the subconscious. Can survive in the air. Is extremely clever, but with all of those 8 arms, easily distracted, right? So again, it's focusing in on what you want to create this week. And if you're feeling helpless, you're feeling sad, you're feeling upset, remember that the stream of wellness lives within you and you can tap into it at any time. Okay? So I hope that helps give some peace and some clarity to everybody during this crazy, stressful, chaotic time. We are in the throes, if you will, of transformation, and this is not a time to be distracted or afraid. It's natural to feel those emotions, but remember that at the core of healing, right, is compassion. So get to the place where you have compassion for what's going on and then focus back on your own wellspring of abundance. Because when you do so, you will be on the right side of justice. And not only that, your well-being will radiate to others and contribute more positivity, more love in a time where we so need it. All right? I love you guys so very much. If you've been with me from the beginning, thank you so much for sticking with me and helping me to express my connection to the divine and my gift in a way that is meaningful and useful to others, which is the goal. So may this reading provide peace, focus, and clarity to you for the coming week. And may we all find compassion in our hearts and focus on the highest good for all. You can check me out on Instagram. I have that link down below. I post a daily reading there. Facebook as well. If you have questions, comments, or if you just want to reach out, you can email me. I link that down below. And if you are a subscriber and you've been with me, if I offered you a reading as additional free rating due to extended wait times the first time around, send me an email. I would be more than happy to do that for you now. I think that's it. Subscribe if you found value in this. I post every week, and I love you guys. May peace be with you. See you guys next week.